Welcome to the Marketing Revolution podcast. This is the underground movement of savage marketers from all over the world. We are not Fortune 500 companies. We are real entrepreneurs with real businesses that have one major thing in mind: to set goals and devour them daily. Because we understand that everyone wants to eat, but only savage marketers are willing to do the hunt. Now let's get this revolution started. Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with the Marketing Revolution podcast and the Marketing Savage Facebook group. I hope you guys are having an amazing day today, and got a really cool interview. This is going to be pure fire, y'all. And got my boy Tony Taveras here to talk about, all kinds of amazing shit. I mean, Tony is involved. Obviously, you can see he is a massively big dude over there. So any of you guys who are watching, any of you guys who are actually watching on the Marketing Savage Facebook group, you guys can see that Tony is a big dude. And it's kind of crazy because we just had Steve Kuklo last week, who is anytime these two dudes are in the same room, they're the two biggest guys in the room by far. And, but above and beyond that, Tony here is an amazing leader inside of his field. He's in one of the where you're the head of sales for Linear Roofing, Tony.
That's right. And one of the managing partners. So three partners total. And I'm the third partner that came into the business.
Yeah, so Linear Roofing is an amazing company. I've heard nothing but just great things about this roofing company, and I know Kirk as well, who is also a member of Apex Executive. Mm-hmm. And man, I'm just told you guys are busting at the seams. And let's talk a little bit about how you guys started and where your alliance came from.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for having me. First off, I really appreciate being a guest on the show. Met you at our first Apex Executive event, and it's amazing how many awesome people are at that event. And winners turn other people into winners. And so they always talk about you are the culmination of the 5 people you surround yourself. And we got a group of 50, 60 people we're surrounded ourselves with that are pretty incredible. So I appreciate you having me. But to start with, how the company even came about. And the alignments there, it really started back with LA Fitness, actually. A lot of our leadership core and our leadership group came from the fitness industry. You mentioned Kurt Lennington. He's been a mentor to me for over 12 years. He's also an Apex executive. Neil Palmer, the other owner, he's also an Apex executive. So we all actually met through LA Fitness. And I was actually 21 years old when I did my final interview, and that was with Kurt. He brought me on board to LA Fitness, and that's where I started my sales career and journey. And at that point, I actually dropped out of college. I was, school was huge for my parents. I was recruited by Princeton and Harvard, and something in my gut told me when I sat down with Kurt, I needed to take this opportunity and go all in. So went all in, burned my boats, burned my bridges, and said it's either win or die with LA Fitness. And long story short, went 8 years with LA Fitness. I became the youngest vice president with LA Fitness at 24 years old, became a regional VP at 26, was on the acquisition team when we would go buy other fitness chains like Lifestyle Family Fitness over on the East Coast and Florida and up that coast. When we went and bought out Urban Active, I was a part of those acquisitions, training and developing those new hires we would integrate into the company. So for 8 years, I was with LA along with Kurt. Neil also was a GM at one point with LA Fitness, and that's how we all met. At the end of my career with LA, I came to visit Kurt one weekend for his birthday. And we were both still in LA Fitness. He was an executive, 20 years in LA Fitness. And I came to visit him, and he said, "Man, I got a little business on the side, and it's roofing." And I said, "What?" And this man is in a suit all day long. And I'm like, "You're jumping on roofs?" And so he showed me the layout of the business. And My parents have been, involved in insurance for over 20 years. They own one of the largest insurance licensing companies in America. They also have a podcast for insurance. So I knew there was a lot of potential when you're dealing with insurance. So he showed me the blueprint. I left my regional role with LA Fitness to come on board, be the sales VP, and eventually have the opportunity to become a partner with Kurt and Neil. So that's the alignment.
Oh man, that's incredible, bro. That's incredible. Yeah. So tell us a little bit deeper about how the company has grown within the last, how many years has it been now? And let's talk a little bit about the growth of Linear Roofing and your part of that growth.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous experience. That decision to leave school didn't sit well with a lot of the close family members that were by me. A lot of times when you make a decision like that and you go all in, to me, I love playing poker, right? And when you have pocket aces on the table, you're willing to risk it all. And so for those that come to where they're trying to make a decision, do I do something? Do I not? You got to believe in yourself and trust in yourself that you are the pocket aces, and you got to be willing to risk it all sometimes to win big. So I took that risk and I left college. I took that risk and I left the regional vice president role. And at that time, when I left LA Fitness, many people were against it. They were like, why are you going into roofing? Are you crazy? You're making $200,000-$300,000 living off the West Coast of Florida, running fitness clubs. I mean, you're 28. I mean, do you not love what you're doing? I was like, no, it's capped. I don't have an ability to grow exponentially. Like I learned everything I needed to in fitness sales and in training sales. So, the growth has happened over the last 5 years. I made that decision. I came all into the roofing industry. Didn't know one thing about it. The only one out of us 3 partners who knew anything about roofing was Neil. He had many years, 20 years of experience in the roofing industry. So he was the only one that knew anything about shingles and how to put on a roof, let alone, right? So I've been in roofing now just 5 years. When I started with Kurt and Neil, I mean, we had 2 to 3 guys doing roofs. And some of those guys early were more of your typical kind of roofers. They weren't pros. They weren't professionals. They weren't guys that were over delivering. They weren't guys that were going above and beyond to give tremendous value, giving more value than they were taking in payment, so to speak. So when I came forward, we actually cut everyone that was in the company. I was the Lone Ranger in sales, and we had no structure, no systems. We did everything via paper. And we just started. The goal was I was going to come in and truly learn and immerse myself in the insurance claims process, understanding how to take a homeowner from point A to point Z when their home gets damaged by hail. So I had to immerse myself in it, and I had to hit the ground. I had to put the suit up, so to speak, put on some shorts and a shirt and start knocking doors. I had to start at the very ground level. So there was no way I was going to be able to build it and recruit and teach it if I didn't do it myself. So for that whole first 6 months, all I was doing was selling, knocking doors, meeting customers, opening up neighborhoods. And 6 months in, I then began pulling from my talent pool at LA Fitness, the guys and the gals that I had led over the years, which was, thousands. I had been over multiple states. So I had a pipeline of those that trusted me in a leadership role, in a sales role. So I began to show them the opportunity that we had, the exponential opportunity. And we began to recruit superstars. Like we weren't recruiting others that were in the roof. We were recruiting just superstar professionals that understood the sales process, that understood taking care of customers. And it just happened one by one by one. And, now 5 years later, we're at 100 plus project managers with an amazing infrastructure. So that's kind of how it started.
Okay. So you pretty much said you're at 100 plus storm managers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. In 5 years.
That's awesome, bro. That is incredible, man. So let me ask you, how many states do you currently service with your roofing company?
Yeah. So right now that's actually, we're at a point we didn't want to grow too fast. Some companies make the mistake and they don't dominate their sector, speak in their home base before they start spreading too thin. We wanted to make sure our leadership group and our core group and our team leaders who are over the project managers were solid and knew what they were doing before we started expanding into other markets. So, over the last 5 years, our goal first was to truly dominate DFW and become that household name, become the name that everyone thinks about. Like, when a storm hits, it's like, we need people thinking Linear Roofing's here to take care of me. So we did that over the last 5 years. We've been on the ground. A lot of companies, they believe in, from a marketing perspective, they believe in, I'm just going to trap and I'm going to pay for leads, right? I'm going to pay for as much as I can, from advertising to Facebook to this to that to Google ads. We took the opposite approach. We took the approach that we wanted to grow our marketing, so to speak, organically through customer relationships, through referrals, through our individual social medias, highlighting customers. So as we started to grow and expand, we just grew it organically, and we didn't have this overhead of marketing that we were actually paying for at the time. Now we're at the point where we need to create a marketing machine, and we need to take care of those leads. We need to generate other leads as we go into other markets. But we took that approach first. But to answer your question, we are actually in Louisiana now. So now we've expanded to Louisiana. We have another market in Lubbock to be able to take care of that side of Texas, from San Angelo to San Antonio to Houston. Like, we got a team that we're building over there to be able to take care of storms that may hit on the other side of Texas. So Louisiana, Lubbock, Dallas is our home base, DFW. And we're actually getting licensed now in Florida, licensing in Colorado, Oklahoma. We're going up to Chicago and Michigan. So our plan is to be in over 6 states by the end of 2021.
That's awesome, bro. That is incredible. A lot of people, you hit on something that I wanted to point out. And it's a mistake that I believe that a lot of companies make, that they don't secure their home base before they expand. Meaning that essentially your processes, your machine, that upper level corporation where everything fuels up to, everything's going to move up to that, so to speak, that hub. And a lot of people will tend to spread themselves thin and not dominate and create the type of market presence that you need to scale and to move into other markets. Because you've dominated DFW, which essentially would be one of the hardest markets in the country to step into. And I've actually been told like this from another roofer friend of ours. He literally told me, as we were talking about funnels and things like that and running advertisement in the DFW market, which we do in automotive, but we've never ran any advertisements in roofing. He basically told me that the DFW area, it's like a bunch of cockroaches when a storm hits.
It is. Yes, it is.
Basically said that, bam. I mean, if you guys could imagine, we're talking about a market that gets like hail damage and gets, like 4 or 5 tornadoes a year. Yeah. I think there was a tornado recently, like an F4, that tore right through the building that we go to, Apex Executive, right through the highway not too long ago. So Texas gets some incredibly hard hit weather, but here's the thing. I believe if you can master it in DFW, then you can move it into just that duplicating that business model. You can move it into just about any market.
Exactly. And to your point, because it is so watered down in this area, if you can find ways to differentiate yourself with the things that you're doing with homeowners, and in essence create a purple cow effect. In marketing, when they talk about a purple cow effect, you are so unique compared to these other companies that you just draw attention. People are attracted to you. And, you could break that down in so many different ways of your process, the customer experience, the scripts that we create, the feel that we give our team members when they come on board, the training that we give them on a weekly basis. There's so many ways that you can create a purple cow for your company. So that way you're taking care of your people so well, they're sharing that on social media. And that's really our recruiting. Our recruiting, the way that we've gone from 1 to over 100 project managers, and I'm talking about some superstars that have come on board with us in our group is because we simply take someone in and we truly look to develop them and take care of them and get them to the next level. Like, we want to get a guy coming in and create so much financial freedom for themselves. They're so ecstatic. They're taking care of their family so well that they're sharing it on their social media. So their pipeline of people that they know are like, man, what are you doing? You have changed. I need to see what this linear is all about. And that's really been our recruiting tactic. Like, we don't go on Indeed a ton. It's like, that's how you get your A players, is by taking care of your current players.
My man, I love it. You know, another incredible thing that you hit on and that I picked up on early when you were talking about your career with LA Fitness is that you said you were capped. You felt capped. And, you know, the truth of the matter is you took this learning lesson into this new business from what I just heard from you, is that you do not want your project managers to feel as if their future is limited.
Yeah.
That's a huge mistake that companies make when they cap people's potential.
Yeah.
And the reason why, us as human beings, if we're not growing, we feel as if we're dying. Meaning, as successful as you were with LA Fitness, because there was a cap there, you lost the feeling of growth.
Yep.
And because of that, a successful individual is not going to fucking hang on with a company that has a ceiling. You know, huge mistake a lot of these companies make. I mean, if LA Fitness would have offered you part ownership of a gym, kind of like Chick-fil-A does with some of their management, I mean, there might have been a path there at that point that you would have, you know, you'd have been like, all right, man, well, I own whatever, you know, an entire region of gyms. If that was my path, then I could see the growth. But because you had a cap there, you decided to move on and you went into roofing. And I'm assuming that these project managers that you bring on, you're bringing so much value into their life. You're not capping their potential as human beings.
Yeah. You know, I felt like I was too late to the dance, so to speak, with LA Fitness. There was guys that were there for 20 years and I wasn't going to surpass them no matter what I did. And that's a really bad feeling, to your point, as a human being, as someone that has a drive to keep growing, when you feel like no matter how much work you're putting into something, you're not getting anything in return. It's like, we want our people to know the better you get at this shit, the more money you're going to be able to take home to provide for your family and your life. Like, that's what we want. We want you to be able to double your income every year if you can, right? Because it's everyone's winning. Yeah. So that's definitely a huge part of our culture.
And that's absolutely possible, especially when you talk about your marketing technique, is to not only build relationships with the clients, because as you know, in a market like DFW, when it hails, you're going to have each and every year, you're going to have a list of reoccurring clients that call you. You know, you're not even sending the salesman back out to evaluate their home. So as you build this business, just that internal momentum starts to build steam. And each year you'll continue to grow just based off of the people that you've developed and kept relationships with.
Yeah, there's a lot of repeat business as long as you take care of people. And we teach our people, you know, your goal when you're talking to a homeowner, it's like, many people can put on a roof, right? There's many other companies can put on a good roof, but it's like, I don't want to just put on a roof. I want to give you the best experience you've ever had with a general contractor in your life. Like, I want to leave you and your wife so ecstatic in the end of all this, like your jaw is dropped and you're amazed. And you're literally walking me up and down the street, meeting your friends and family members because you want to just give to me. Like, I don't have to offer you money. I don't have to do any of that. You're trying to post me on the Nextdoor app to take care of me because of how well we took care of you. And that's the feel that we want our people to give off. And to your point, that's how you get that repeat business. So when they are hit again 2-3 years down the line, they're like, man, there's no way I'm going to go with this new guy who's knocking on my door. Like, I'm going with linear. I don't have to think about it.
And what we see, you know, of course, many of you guys know that I own hailads.com, where we run ads in the automotive industry. And, you know, we do the same thing. We target hailstorms, right? And one of the big mistakes that I see time and time again is that people think that it's just price alone that people are actually looking for, meaning that that the only thing that matters at the end of the day is that I waive somebody's deductible or I take care of them in some sort of way, right? And the bottom line is, I try to explain this. Like, I am not the client that would actually want that. Okay. So, I drive some nice cars, and my car gets damaged. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this, brother. You drive a Rolls Royce, right?
Yeah.
And you got the black on black rolls. Your
That
car
black
gets
bad,
nailed.
baby.
Yeah. And your car gets nailed with hail damage.
Yeah.
Are you going to want to find like the cheapest people in town to fix that car?
Hell no. And this is your number one asset.
I want to pay my deductible.
Yeah.
Because I don't want any corners cut on my cars.
No.
And so I want to go in and I want to pay my deductible because I want to find the best of the best.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying there about the Blue Cow, which is, who wrote that book? Was it Simon?
The Purple Cow. Purple Cow effect. Yeah. I forget who came up with it.
I think it's Simon Sinek or something like that.
Yeah.
And,
it was an older book.
Yeah. Who wrote that book? And the entire thing about focusing on that user experience, everything from the moment that they call your company to the interaction that they're having with the the secretary, down to the interaction that they're having with the project managers. I'll tell you something very interesting. I don't know if you've ever seen this actual report, but it's part of the book that talks about it's like the different laws of persuasion. Okay. And they actually did a test study inside of a real estate office where the secretary who answers the phone would take a call. And let's say an individual was calling for commercial rental or commercial space. And the secretary would answer the phone and say, hey, ABC Real Estate. And the client would ask for a commercial real estate agent. And she would immediately have written down a script of their commercial real estate agent's qualifications. So she would say, well, let me go ahead and connect you to Jack Jones, who has over 20 years in commercial real estate. And Jack is actually known as one of the best, was voted last year as one of the best real estate agents in the Nice. And they would have a script before they connected Jack, right?
Nice.
So what they were doing is they were market positioning Jack before Jack even picked up the phone.
Yeah.
And they actually found their closing go up by it was something dramatic. I mean, it was like a 50% increase from what they had seen previously. Yeah. And so everything from the user experience, like when people call, when the people call your company, is the person connecting them saying, hey, well, let me connect you to Tony here, who has blah, blah years of roofing experience and blah, blah certified and this and that. And let me get you right over to him. Right. So that's a different user experience than somebody calling and saying, well, hey, let me connect you to Joe real quick. Right.
Yep.
Every single aspect of when you're in contact with the clients and customers, you have an opportunity there to put your best foot forward.
Yeah. And it's beautiful that what you're saying here and how I can see that correlating also to exactly who you hire in your company. Because when you're talking about user experience, you can't just have anybody taking them through this experience. It's like there's a fine set of qualities I'm looking for when I'm sitting with someone on a final interview, right? And it's like now over the last 5 years, I could really break it down to, when I sit with someone on a final, it's like, how do I know that this person is going to be an ace in the deck of cards? Out of all the resumes, out of all the people that's trying to come in, how do I know they're going to be an ace? And I use that word ace because it comes down to 3 things for their short-term immediate success. That's attitude, coachability, and effort. Breaks down to really those 3 things, because attitude is their belief in themselves and them coming in, being positive. And a homeowner, when you're at a door with them, they're going to feel that energy from you. If you're low in energy and you're like, man, I got to knock doors, you're done. You won't be any good at this business, right? Attitude, coachability, being able to run our play. We have a system in play and scripts that work. If you're not coachable and you think you're going to come in and do your own thing, you ain't going to make it. And then effort, you could be coachable. You could have a great attitude, but you're not getting up every day and actually applying it. You're screwed. So those 3 things really is what I look at to determine is someone going to be very successful with us, to give the customer that great experience, because our purpose here is building lasting relationships. Now they can have all those three things. And what I found is there is a wild card or a joker to determine whether they're going to be with us long term. And that wild card or joker is character or core values. You know, so
Sure.
if they have all those three things and their character is out of whack and they think that they're going to come in and get greedy and lose their humility and think that they could just do this thing on their own, or you know, they won't make it long term, because they'll begin to be a cancerous cell in your corporation, and they get too big for their britches.
Well, people will change over time as well.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that you got to keep your eye on that. I mean, you really got to keep your eye on that. And I think one of the things I said at Apex Executive when I stood up is that if I find myself waking up in the middle of the night and thinking about a person, whether that's a client of mine or whether that is an individual who's employed by me, it's really likely that they're not going to last very long. And it's very possible that I'll fire them the next day.
I remember you said that. And I took note of that.
You know, that's the thing, right? Because you're feeling that energy. Whether it's not about what they're saying, what they're telling you, but you're feeling that energy of that bad seed, that bad apple that's coming into your organization. And if you do not get become aware of detecting who these people are and regularly replacing them. I mean, hopefully you don't have to deal with that many. I mean, if you build a great culture inside of your company and you start hiring based on culture, and you as an individual really come at it from a perspective of helping and, you know, putting together the right tools that your employees need to succeed. And you as an individual bring that to the table, then at that point, you've got to understand that there's some people that things can go bad, things can go wrong in their life. And it's just like an elevator. At some point, I mean, it's not about firing them. It's not about shoving I used to be very, very, shove my foot up people's ass, right? Like, you know, I've managed several different businesses. And when I was a kid, I managed a multi-million-dollar car wash. And man, I used to do the you remember Red Foreman on that 70s show?
I didn't really watch it too much.
There's a guy named Red Foreman, and he was a grocery store manager. And the way he used to fire people was just like he gave them the Red Foreman firing.
Yeah,
I gave everybody that firing. Literally shoved my foot up their ass on the way out. I'm like 18, 19 years old and firing like 50-year-old people. Yeah, you know. And since then, you know, we all grow, right? I've realized it's like an elevator, and as you're on an elevator to the top, there's certain floors you just got to let people go.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think also, you know, if you're a leader in a company, in a business, and on a team, it's like, how do you hold someone to such a high standard of excellence or a championship type of excellence and culture if you yourself are not walking in that on a daily basis? And I think some people have to really hone in on that. Like if you're being lazy, and you're not showing up and you're not leading by example and you're not a hard worker, how can you really expect that from your people? Right. So I think we're constantly, as a leadership group, I think Kurt, you know, does a great job at making sure that no one gets comfortable in the company. And that's why I chose him as a mentor when I was 21 years old. You know, so it's like you never get comfortable. We're always looking to grow, and we're always looking to grow our leadership group and our project managers, not just for getting good at the business and the process and sales and those kind of things of what they're doing on a daily basis, but getting better as human beings, getting better as fathers, getting better as leader men or women, like getting better as mothers, you name it. We're focused on personal development, because in the end, then your people don't want to leave you.
You're right, because they're getting that thing that all of us are actually in search of.
Yes.
And that is increase.
Yeah.
You know, everybody is in search of increase.
Yeah.
And, you know, I learned that a long time ago. And in fact, when you talked about, you know, being the person that does it yourself, leading by example, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of, I had a old mentor of mine who has done literally like 9-figure, I mean, crazy stuff. He was on the team working with Icy Hot when they first launched.
Okay.
And blue blocker sun, like all kinds of stuff like that. Right. Yeah. And just incredible mentor, and probably one of the best marketers I know, one of the best copywriters I know by far.
Okay.
And he was, flew him in from Alaska. 2 years ago, September, and had him spend a day with me in my office, and we kind of mapped out the entire year together. And when we were sitting there mapping out the entire year, I was making a transition from doing this movement, right? And he looked at me, he goes, all this stuff that we're talking about, John, you're going to have to start living it, right?
Yeah. And,
he looked at me, he goes, that's the burden. That's the burden of the, that's your burden. That's what you brought on yourself, John. And I'm thinking like burden. I'm like, what? I'm living it now, man. And, but it was just, it was just a shining example of, him telling me that, if you're going to bring something to the world, you've got to start living what that is that you're bringing to the world.
Oh yeah.
And just that energy alone will actually lift people above and beyond what we say. I mean, Tony Robbins talks about that 90% of our communication is with our energy.
Yeah.
And with the way that we walk into a room, just the very small, subtle things can communicate a lot to a lot of people. If somebody's telling you yes to something, but they're shaking their head no.
Yeah.
You immediately begin to realize it's kind of like, it's so funny. So I studied this stuff that was body language stuff, right? So I studied several books on body language, and I told my wife, I'm like, let me show you how well this works, right? And this was back maybe 3-4 years ago when my son was much smaller than he is today. Now he's really in good shape. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, John, are you jealous of my muscles? And he goes, he's playing a video game. He puts his controller over his face like this, Tony, and goes, no. I'm like, you see how he tried to hide his mouth? That's the very first thing that people will do at the primal level to hide that they're lying about their feelings, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot about like living in truth, and there's people that will see through. My mom used to just say, my mom put it so basic. She's like, people will see through your shit, right?
Yeah.
That's what she told me. And the truth of the matter is, if you're not living it in and through yourself, then when you connect to people, they'll just be something that they don't quite understand.
For sure. Yeah. You won't be able to create what you envision. And if it's a company, if it's a business, if it's to expand, you can't create that if you're walking in a lie. Right. With your own life. You just can't. People will see through that, to your point.
Yeah. So I just booked on the podcast one of my guys who one of the best. He's actually lives in your neck of the woods. His name's Mike Kimsky. Okay, and he's basically like my energy coach, right? He's like the dude that goes into the depths of the depths. Like he's written books on energy and all this stuff. Yeah. And one of the things that he actually talks about that's very, very interesting that we focus on personal development, right, is that there's a phase in personal development where you go into mourning. And most people don't realize that because you think that you're moving towards something, you're moving towards your goal. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, you just feel sad, right? What it is, you're actually leaving a previous identity and you're mourning that person who you was. It's incredible. So once I actually learned more about this, like I kind of get excited when I get into the mourning phase, right? When I know that I'm leveling up, but then all of a sudden some sort of sadness hits me and I just don't know where it's coming from. And I'm sitting here going, okay, well, that's a part of growth, right? It's a part of growth. That's leaning into the darkness. When you understand that darkness is actually here, it's sometimes to serve you, just like when we go to sleep at night, that night and that darkness is actually serving us by giving us energy to wake up and win the day. In development, we find the same things, the same opportunities, man. And it's a beautiful thing. And I love that you guys structure that into your actual company. I believe that that's the future, that you guys are on to something that is the absolute future of recruiting and hiring and becoming the best companies that are out there are going to do things this way.
Yeah. I feel 100% we are. We had a vision when we started, and now we're executing. It's a book that I definitely would recommend. Because we've walked it. Like, I can only be honest. You talk about walking in truth. Like, what have we done? What tangible things did we implement to create what we've created? And I think one thing that was interesting about 3.5 years back in our hiring process, no one is to get to the final interview until they have read and thoroughly understood the 10X rule by Grant Cardone.
Okay.
They don't even get there. You know, and I chose
Yeah.
that book after I read it, and I was like, damn, for someone coming into a new industry, he really breaks things down very simple, almost like to where a 20-year-old could understand it. Right. So it's
Which
like,
is good.
yeah, absolutely. So I've seen guys and gals come in and they've really embodied the 10X rule, some of the things that it teaches. And, you know, they're able to really do a 180 with their life. I mean, we had one guy that was doing pest control for 8 years, paycheck to paycheck, had 3 kids, you know, was in a point of his life where he was unhappy, and came on board and literally embodied everything the 10X rule talks about. And the reason why it talks about the 10X rule is important is because most people underestimate the effort that it will take to be successful at something. You know, they see people in this industry doing so well and driving these fast cars and supercars and think, oh, I'm just going to come in and do the same. No, you're underestimating this shit, right? It's going to take a lot of work. So he did that work and he embodied those tangible things that I taught him through the book. And, you know, in his first year was able to do upwards towards $250,000. You're talking about coming from pest control, you know? So that's one thing that we did as a company. We implemented, hey, you got to, like, if someone can't go get a book and they're not willing to read a book for 6 hours and then come and share with me on a final interview what they took from that book, I got to know that they could learn and apply something. And so they have to do that. And it's worked very well for us. And that's just maybe a tip for others that run businesses and something that works.
Hey, that's awesome, brother. I love that, man. No, I love that you guys got some core curriculum and something that you're bringing people into. Yeah. One of the first things that I do for my coaching clients and people that I consult is I have them listen to or read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, who was literally 30 years before Napoleon Hill. And broke it down in a way that it's very, very simple format, like to what you've actually hit on there, is that it's so simple to understand the importance of specifically walking in abundance and getting that energy right. Right. And expecting, walking in faith and expecting that good things are to happen rather than expecting bad things to happen.
You are the cause, not the effect. Like this, I love, there was a clip I saw from Will Smith years ago, and he was talking about that the universe is not something that's like throwing you around and all these effects are happening to you. And like you control your destiny. Like you tell the universe what the fuck's about to happen, right? And when you assume personal accountability for that, you control your own destiny. And there's so much power in that, to walk in that power than to walk in, I'm an effect of everything that's going on around me.
So have you, you probably haven't heard about this, but I got several people in the Apex group and probably a lot of people that listen to the podcast doing this, but I actually do something called a money meditation. I mince it either money or love, but let's just talk about money. We're talking about abundance.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for years. And what it is, do you meditate, Tony?
To some extent. I mean, not as much as I need to.
So my meditation is not like that goofy where you sit in the middle of green grass and roll out.
Yeah, I don't do that. I can't say I do that.
My meditation is more like sitting in your car or when you get a moment alone.
Yes.
Just do some breathing exercises, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that I've actually talked about in my book that's going to be coming out here in about a month is that it's called a money meditation, where you actually literally imagine as you're breathing in and focusing on your breath that money is coming above you, and as you're breathing out that it's settling around you, and you continue to do that. Money is floating above you and then setting around you, above and around, never above and away, but above and around. And so let me explain to you, a lot of people get kind of woo-woo about meditation, but my type of meditation is weaving something into your subconscious to something that you do naturally all day without thinking about it, and that's breathing. So what happens is when people begin to practice this meditation, they will leave the meditation session, and as they're breathing, they will be breathing abundance in and breathing it out. It weaves it into the fiber of what they're doing. And now, again, let's take one step back. What we talked about, everybody's after increase. So when you become a man who is walking in increase and you are breathing in a daily basis abundance in and around you, you will attract people and you will attract opportunities. People will see something in your energy that they can't quite understand, but they know that they want to get closer to it because everybody is in the pursuit of increase.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And it makes me think back when I was coming up in the sales world with LA Fitness, and I think back to when I was trying to become a VP and trying to break through the ceiling. It's like what got my mindset there to be able to accept that and be in abundance to where I could become a VP at such a young age. I remember every morning doing an exercise where, and I still do it to this day, when I'm eating breakfast in the morning, I typically have a video going on, whether it's Eric Thomas, Les Brown, TD Jakes, CT Fletcher, Tony Robbins, some video going on and giving me positive messaging. To where I'm starting my day in this positive abundance, acceptance, like state where I'm going to attack whatever I'm doing for that day. And I think it's so critical to start your day out in that positive energy. So yeah, that's a tool that I love. And Eric Thomas, it's funny because years I loved his videos and how bad you want it, as bad as you want to breathe, and all these Lions versus Gazelle. I actually met him one-on-one for breakfast while I was running Michigan for LA Fitness, and I would go to his conferences. So one day, we got together and we actually had breakfast at a Cracker Barrel in Michigan, one-on-one, where I'm getting with Eric Thomas, like considered one of the top motivational speakers in the world. And he's sharing me his story from being homeless and his wife and all these things. And I'm sharing with him, at the time, how I moved up in my life into LA Fitness. And that was super impactful to me to meet with him.
Man, that's incredible, bro.
Yeah.
That is incredible, man.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing, my friend. So we're tapping on an hour here, and it looks like we're getting a ton of great feedback here.
Man, we're already at an hour. I wouldn't have even thought.
Man, we're getting pretty close to an hour here on the podcast, man. And I would put this one up on I would put this one up on a motivational chart as the one that I recently had with Tom Ziegler a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So man, you are an absolute beam of light, bro. I love it, Tony.
Thank you, brother.
And, we talk about that, right? Because while you're out there shining your light on the world and you're out there and your torch is blazing, as people like us, man, we hope to, maybe one day we'll run into, every day we run into people that maybe they'd have just a little tiny flame on the end of their torch, right?
Yeah.
And it's barely even flickering, right? And they can barely see. They don't have vision because they don't have the light.
They need a spark.
We get the opportunity to touch that torch on somebody else. And I'm hoping that in the audience today and here on the podcast that we were able to light some people's torches up today so they can go out in the world and do the same, because I believe that that's exactly how we're going to change the world.
100%.
Thank you for having me, brother. Hey, thank you for as well, Tony. And is there any way that you want people to you got any websites or anything people can go look at, or
you can go add me on Facebook, Tony Taveras, TonyTaveras. I'm big on Instagram. Instagram's where you're going to find me most, and that's where I basically put a lot of my fitness stuff on Instagram, and that's Tony Goat, like the animal, GOAT _Taveras. And I am an IFBB pro. I won Universe to turn pro a year and a half ago. I had my first pro season this past year, and walking into my second season, my sophomore season as an IFBB Classic Physique Pro, I'm projected to go to the Olympia and also potentially get an Arnold invite, which is the two largest shows in the world. So, we're going to be competing at the highest level. My goal is to become one of the top athletes in the world, along with running this business and helping grow it. So follow me on Instagram for sure.
Oh, my man, you look incredible as well, bro. I see all your fitness stuff, and man,
Thank
it just takes a lot to be able to do what you've done, bro. And appreciate you for coming along on this podcast. And
thank you.
As usual, Marketing Revolution peeps, we'll see you on that next one.